2 years ago, I did an art challenge where I designed this Genshin Sona, based on a set of rules from a TikTok trend at the time. Check out the video after this one if you want to hear the thinking behind the design. But a couple weeks ago, as I was looking for ways to procrastinate on schoolwork, I thought, why not make her into a 3D model, like the ones in-game? Very self-indulgent. Welcome to the channel, it's kind of what we do around here. This video is part of the behind the scenes for an upcoming video I'm working on, which will involve the 3D model I made here. I don't want to spoil what the video is going to be about because it's a long ways from being completed, so I'm just going to be super cryptic and leave you with a little Vigenère cipher, the key to which is hidden somewhere in my voiceover. Hope the Gravity Falls fans enjoy this one. But I know I'm the kind of person who loves to figure out how things are made, so I thought I'd make this video for anyone out there who's like me. To be clear, while this video is going to go over my process and thinking in a narrative way, it isn't meant as a tutorial. I'm a little too new to this process, and a little too lazy, to make an in-depth tutorial on it, and as you'll see in the time-lapse, I was definitely learning as I was going with this project. But there's a lot of great tutorials out there for how to make your own characters and animate them, so if you want to try a project like this one, it's definitely possible. And something fun about this video is all the software I use to make and animate the 3D model is available completely for free. The main software I use is VRoid Studio to model the character, and then I'm doing all my animation for like the 3D stuff in Miku Dance, or MMD for short. VRoid Studio is what we're looking at right now, and it's really cool. It lets you create anime-style 3D models using sliders and presets instead of having to 3D model the whole thing from scratch, which requires a skill set I do not have yet. From what I've seen in people's tutorials and videos, VRoid is a great way to design a VTuber model for free. I've also used it in the past to make characters for video games. I haven't done a lot of game dev recently, but don't be surprised if at some point in the future I make a game dev related video series as well. I've been making video games since I was a kid, and I kind of want to get back into it, especially now that I've had years to practice skills that I hadn't had as a kid, like digital illustration, character and UI design, as well as a little voice acting. For those who only know me for my drawings, I actually have a lot of hobbies outside of drawing. I just really enjoy making things in all kinds of forms. Tangent aside, VRoid works great if you want to make stuff with anime aesthetics, which is why, even though it's a little stylistically different from Genshin's models, I ultimately went with VRoid to make my model. And I spent some time playing with the sliders for things like face proportions, especially the nose, until it looked a little more similar to the Genshin face shapes. But I am far from an expert at VRoids, so if it looks at all like I didn't know what I was doing, that's probably because I didn't know what I was doing. If I could go back, I'd probably make some changes to the model I ended up with, but I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna go with the model I ended up making here. I think she turned out cute. Once I got the basics, like the hair and face details, which were the easiest part of the process, I got to experiment with how clothes work in VRoid. The crop top, gloves, pants, and shoes were mainly just a matter of painting textures, which, don't get me wrong, was still tricky, because I was lazy and stuck to the texture editor within VRoid, instead of switching over to Clip Studio Paint or a drawing software I'm more familiar with. In my defense, working in the VRoid texture editor is nice because you can instantly see how your edits affect the 3D model in real time. But also, because I was unfamiliar with this texture editor, I struggled to move the canvas. I was only able to get it to zoom in and out on the textures, but not focus to anywhere specific that I wanted. So I'd have to draw directly on the model or with a very zoomed out canvas, which was kind of a pain. And out of curiosity while writing the script for this video, I did a simple Google search, and turns out all you have to do to move the canvas in VRoid is hold Shift and the mouse scroll wheel. It was that easy. I spent hours making this model, but I couldn't set aside 30 seconds for a Google search to make the process easier. I guess I was just so in the zone that I skipped the step of trying to find a solution to my problem and just instantly went to, well, if the software is gonna be like that, let's just figure out how to work around this problem. So, oops. The key here is laziness. Other than my laziness making the process a little trickier, overall the arm accessories, crop top, and pant shoes were a lot of fun to work on. I just connected my drawing tablet and enjoyed the process. It was cool how I got to use the basics I knew from digital art, but like apply them in a new context. For example, seeing how this digital art would wrap around a 3D model. My main worries for this model were the coat and head accessories, since everything else is pretty simple in terms of shape. The accessories had very distinct shapes and would likely involve some degree of 3D modeling from scratch, something I very much wanted to avoid as your resident lazy person. Luckily for me, free assets came to the rescue. On the main website where you can buy VRoid clothes, accessories, and more, I found a mini hat someone made, and a mini headband with a bow, which worked as perfect bases for my model's hat and bows. Quite a bit of the time-lapse is me tweaking them until they looked closer to what I had in mind, and I'm so grateful that's all I had to do this time around, so a huge thank you to the creators on screen for making these assets. Also, I'm aware that the hat has no brim on it, which is different from my original design, and that's because I was too lazy to figure out how to add one. and it would have just blended in with the hair anyway, so I just kept the hat's main part, but without the little brim on it. Once I understood that the head accessories I added are technically considered quote-unquote hair, I managed to incorporate the glasses chain by telling VRoid it was hair as well. I'm really happy I was able to include the glasses chain. It was one of my favorite parts of the original design, and I was honestly kind of sad at first when I thought I'd have to just exclude it from the final design. It just wouldn't be the same without the glasses chain. For the coat, I used an asset from the creator here on screen, and kind of worked over the texture they made as a base. While I ended up completely coloring over the coat base, it helped me a lot in figuring out how coats work in VRoid, as well as the placement for the open shoulders. I struggled a bit on the coat though, like, you'll be able to see that in the time-lapse. I kind of had to go back and like fix a lot of things as I went, and the blue color on it low-key looked a little bit better than the yellow, but that's okay. When I showed my little brother this design, he instantly went, "Heh, Navia ripoff," until I had to go back and remind him that not only this design is from 2 years ago, before like anyone knew about Navia, but also that he was the one who picked out the colors. I have video evidence of him admitting that he picked out the colors for this design.
I wasn't sure what color scheme I wanted, but luckily I had my trusty younger brother to help me out. First of all, Shirley is really bad at choosing colors. Hey! You know, my color choosing is really good. With his help, we ended up settling on a brown and yellow color scheme.
He's the reason my design is a Navia ripoff. It's all his fault, definitely. I'm actually currently developing a new Genshin OC with some friends, you know, just for fun. So if I end up wanting to 3D model this character, some things I'd want to do the next time I make a VRoid model is take more time on the textures, possibly even working in another drawing software to edit them once I understand how all the parts are broken down. That way I can kind of make it look cleaner and do better shading on it and more effects, because I was very limited in the amount of layers and types of layers as well as the layer effects I could use. So being able to work in my standard drawing software would have given me more options for actually making the textures. I'd generally try to make the clothing textures a little bit cleaner, as well as adding maybe some more gradients and details to them. I'd also want to do some shading within the 3D model itself, since Genshin does that a lot to help add detail and like help you tell apart the different parts of the designs. But I'm still happy with how this model turned out, ignoring some of the texture errors. She now exists in 3D form, which is pretty cool if you ask me. After I finished working on this model, I used a free converter to convert her from a VRoid model to a PMX model, which is a format that works in MMD, the 3D animation software I use. And it's really cool being able to animate the model. Here she is doing the standard MMD dance motion, and here's a rough animation test I did a couple weeks ago. The one thing is, the converter removes all the hair physics. So I thought I'd follow a tutorial or two and add them back myself, and, well, quick trigger warning for potential body horror if anime heads moving freely from their bodies makes you uncomfortable.
Low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
We'll see if I ever end up giving her hair physics that look nice, but for now it's looking like I'll just not do it. Because as I said earlier, with this project and many of my more ambitious projects, the key is laziness. It might seem counterintuitive since you want the project to be really cool when you're done, but sometimes I'll bite off a project that's technically a little more than I can chew. And if I get too stuck on a single step, I might end up abandoning the project altogether. A rage quit, if you will. Since I'm just one person, whether the project gets done is dependent on me putting the work in, so sometimes I'm gonna be lazy and cut corners. Because I've got too many projects I want to make and too little time to make them all. All that to say, don't be surprised if my character's hair looks like something out of Roblox. If anyone asks, it was definitely a stylistic choice. It was a Roblox reference, okay? I hand-painted that vision by hand because I was too lazy to figure out like how to 3D model it, so I just kind of sat there shading it and drawing the little hydro symbol. In the original design, I didn't give my character a vision because I didn't really know what they were, so I decided to replace the blue gem she had in the original design with just a hydro vision. A Mondstadt hydro vision, to be more specific. To be honest, her design's a little more reminiscent of Fontaine than Mondstadt, but when I made her, I intended for her to be a Mondstadt character, so I decided to stick to that. But that was my process of making my Genshin Sona design into a 3D model. I'm really excited to finish the project I've been working on with this model, and I'm curious if anyone was able to figure out what the project is. And keep your eyes out for that video, and possibly another behind the scenes for it, though both may take some time to happen because they're a little ambitious. And thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like if you liked it, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more of my shenanigans. My name's Shirley, and I do a variety of things on my channel, often related to digital art in some way. I also have so many Genshin videos on here, so check out the playlist in the end card if you want to see animatics, art challenges, and more art from the specific fandom. And until next time, I'll surely see you around. Bye!